Hello and welcome back, dear football fans. Today we're delving into a shocking case that has rocked the world of football to its core: the conviction of former Brazilian football star Robinho for his involvement in a gang rape in Italy. Once considered one of the most promising players of his generation, Robinho's career and life took a dark turn when he was sentenced to 9 years in prison in 2017. In this video, we'll explore the events leading up to his conviction, the subsequent legal proceedings, his escape to Brazil, and the recent developments that led to his arrest in Brazil. Stay tuned to learn more about this tragic story. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like, share, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. Robinho, whose full name is Robson de Souza, began his career in Brazil and quickly gained international recognition. He played for some of the world's biggest football clubs, including Real Madrid, Manchester City, and AC Milan. Despite his footballing success, his life was overshadowed by a serious crime that occurred in 2013. In 2013, while Robinho was playing for AC Milan, he, along with several other men, was accused of sexually assaulting an Albanian woman at a nightclub in Milan. The case dragged on for years, but in 2017, an Italian court finally delivered its verdict. Robinho was sentenced to 9 years in prison. The court found that Robinho and his co-defendants had raped the woman after a night of partying. The judgment highlighted the brutality of the crime and the lack of respect for human dignity shown by Robinho and the other perpetrators. This verdict sent shockwaves around the world, especially given Robinho's status as a well-known footballer. Fans and media outlets globally reacted with shock, and the conviction was widely discussed. Robinho himself vehemently denied the allegations, claiming that the sexual encounter was consensual. Despite his assertions, he was found guilty in all instances. After his 2017 conviction, Robinho began to exhaust all available legal avenues to overturn the verdict. His lawyers filed appeals and attempted to challenge the ruling in various courts in Italy. However, over the years, the courts repeatedly dismissed his appeals, and eventually the conviction became final in 2022. By that time, Robinho was no longer in Italy. He'd already left the country and returned to Brazil. This move was strategic, as Brazil generally does not extradite its citizens to other countries. Robinho knew that as long as he stayed in Brazil, he would not be forced to serve his prison sentence in Italy. However, the Italian authorities did not give up. They requested that the verdict be recognized and enforced in Brazil so that Robinho could serve his sentence in his home country. This legal battle dragged on for several years and was closely watched in both Brazil and Italy. The international attention that the case attracted put pressure on the Brazilian judiciary to find a solution. Eventually, the Brazilian Supreme Court decided that the Italian verdict had to be recognized in Brazil and that Robinho should serve his sentence in a Brazilian prison. This decision was a significant moment in the case and ultimately led to Robinho's arrest. On March 22, 2024, the case reached its dramatic climax. Robinho turned himself in to the Brazilian authorities after the Brazilian Supreme Court ruled that he must serve his 9-year sentence in his home country. This decision was the result of years of legal wrangling and mounting public pressure. Robinho was taken into custody by the federal police at his home, underwent a medical examination, and was scheduled to be transferred to a prison. The arrest of such a prominent former football star was a major event in Brazil and sparked widespread media coverage. Many Brazilians were shocked that it had come to this, while others welcomed the decision and saw it as a victory for justice. The arrest marked another deep cut in Robinho's life and career. While his football achievements will be remembered, it is now in this dark episode that defines his legacy for many people. The fact that he was imprisoned in Brazil also underscored the complexity of the case and the challenges of upholding international justice. Despite his conviction and the legal defeats he'd suffered, Robinho remained steadfast in his defense. He continued to deny any wrongdoing, claiming that the sexual encounter with the woman at the nightclub was consensual. In several interviews and public statements, he maintained his innocence and criticized the Italian justice system. Notably, Robinho repeatedly alleged that his conviction was based on racist motives. He argued that as a black man, he'd not been treated fairly in Italy and that prejudice played a role in his conviction. These allegations sparked controversy in Brazil, while some supported his view and considered the possibility of racism in the Italian justice system. Many saw this argument as a desperate attempt to avoid the consequences of his actions. The racism allegations further polarized the case. In Brazil, a country with a complex history regarding racism and discrimination, Robinho's defense was met with mixed reactions. While some of his claims found some support, others pointed out that the focus should be on the serious charges against him and that these should not be overshadowed by claims of racism. The Robinho case was not just a legal issue, but also a political one in Brazil. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva also commented on the case, clearly stating that Robinho should would serve his sentence in Brazil, Lula emphasized that rape is an unforgivable crime and that the rule of law must be enforced, regardless of how famous or popular the defendant is. These statements from the president underscored the significance the case had gained in Brazil. The public and political pressure surrounding the case was substantial. Many people, including women's rights groups and activists, demanded that Robinho be held accountable for his actions. They argued that it would be an important signal to Brazilian society that no one, not even a celebrated football star, is above the law. The case became a symbol of the fight against violence against women and the need to prosecute these crimes rigorously. The decision of the Supreme Court to enforce the verdict in Brazil was therefore seen by many as a step in the right direction. Interestingly, this was not the first time Robinho had faced allegations of sexual misconduct. During his time in England, when he played for Manchester City, he was once accused of rape. This case also attracted significant attention at the time, but ultimately no charges were filed. These previous allegations cast further light on Robinho's behavior and public image. While the case in England did not lead to legal consequences, it did show that there had been problems in the past. For many people following the case in Italy, this knowledge reinforced the belief that Robinho had demonstrated repeated misconduct. This case shows how far someone can fall when they're not held accountable for their actions. Despite all of his attempts to challenge the verdict and his escape to Brazil, the verdict eventually caught up with Robinho. The Brazilian Supreme Court decision to enforce the Italian verdict in Brazil marked a pivotal point in this case and sent a clear message. Regardless of fame or success, no one is exempt from justice when it comes to such grave crimes as rape. Robinho was once an idol for millions of fans worldwide. His exceptional skills on the football field earned him admiration and respect. However, his conviction and the associated scandals have severely tarnished his legacy. Most people will now remember him not only for his goals and dribbling, but also the serious allegations and legal battles that have stained his name. The case also highlights the darker side of fame in professional football. Too often, football stars see themselves as untouchable, shielded by their popularity and the money they earn. But Robinho's story serves as a sobering reminder that justice ultimately prevails and that everyone, no matter how famous or influential, can be held accountable. Robinho's case is a cautionary tale about the consequences that follow serious personal misconduct. While he once seemed untouchable on the football field, his involvement in a heinous crime eventually caught up with him. The conviction in Italy, the escape to Brazil, and the eventual imprisonment illustrate how complex and drawn out international legal disputes can be, especially when prominent figures are involved. Despite his efforts to evade responsibility, Robinho is now being held accountable for his actions. This should serve as both a warning to others who believe that they're above the law and a confirmation that justice, no matter how long it takes, will take its course. That was our in-depth look at the Robinho case, from his conviction in Italy to his arrest in Brazil. It is a tragic and sobering story that shows that fame and success do not grant immunity from the consequences of serious crimes. We hope that you found this insight informative and that it prompts you to think about the responsibility that comes with fame and influence. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like and hit that bell to stay updated with our latest content. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Feel free to share your thoughts on this case in the comments below. What do you think about the decision of the Brazilian Supreme Court? Do you think Robinho was treated fairly? Let us know what topics you'd like to see next. We look forward to seeing your suggestions and discussions. Until next time.